Pro Tem and council members. Earlier today, we had a Ways and Means Committee where we went through and reviewed the items that we're proposing to be included in under this resolution for reimbursement of expenditures for with proceeds of tax-exempt bonds. This resolution pertains to capital equipment items, some from 2008 and an item for 2009. The final recommendation that came forward from the Ways and Means Committee is, if we look at page 8-3 in your packets, the recommendation was to remove the items of life of 5 years and 3 years, and therefore reducing the items included under the capital equipment certificates down to $666,850. Therefore, that then reduced the resolution which is being recommended for the amount under item number 1, reduced down to $700,000. And the reason for the difference between the two amounts is to cover the costs that's associated with the bonding that will be discussed in the next item.
From the Ways and Means, that was removing any of the short-term items, only going with outside warning, the motor grader, and the fire pump in this equipment certificate.
And I think from the staff's perspective, we felt it was a good policy discussion about the use of cash versus borrowing for those types of length of term. Staff did, it wasn't a budgeted, noted as a potential borrowing, and that's why we did proceed with those items to be included, even though that they were at the shorter term. But, the alternative that we'll have to come up with is, at least on the short term, come up with that money through the reserve, since it wasn't planned for in the operating fund. We did have a little bit of discussion if the council were to include that or exclude those items, should we pay it back? Should we pay the reserves back in the future, or shouldn't we? Which we left that item up for discussion at a future time. So I think that the recommendations, although it wasn't the staff's original recommendation, I think we can appreciate the recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee.
Any questions, Council?
So basically what you have removed then are the 2 cars, huh?
The 2 cars.
SUV and the computer and technology.
Oh. Okay.
Only those items that have a life of 15 years or longer would be included,
Okay.
to be paid back over a period of 5 years.
So then my question is, did we move the street sweeper over to that?
Street sweeper stayed where it was.
That's coming out of surface water?
Right. We had originally included that in the list of potential items to be included under this bond issue. We did go back and review the documents that were associated with that when that was acquired, and we found that the interest rate that we would be paying on that is 3.9%, which is less than what we could potentially be paying under these bonds, so we removed it from the list.
Answers this question. Thank you, John.
I make a motion to declare intent to reimburse ourselves of these proceeds from tax-exempt bonds according to the recommendation that was brought forward by the Ways and Means.
Just for the capital equipment portion.
Just for the capital equipment portion. So 15 years and
A second to that.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to issue tax-exempt bonds to an amount of $700,000 for capital equipment as recommended by Ways and Means.
question.
Discussion.
Ben, in the discussion with police vehicles, ordering those police vehicles and paying for those police vehicles, how soon would the police department's account need to have that money? And Tommy, if you can answer that. Do we need to transfer money like fairly quickly to cover those, or they got enough in their account and we can transfer it?
The way that it was budgeted was those items were included in the police department's budget for purchase in 2008 with the intent that the revenue side to offset that would be coming from the bond proceeds. So basically what's going to happen now by them not being included in the revenues from the bond proceeds is that we would have to look at some other, means of covering that, whether it be a reduction in our reserves or if there's other monies within the budgets or within the
So
general
we
fund.
would do that at a reconciliation time?
Right.
In December, first part of the year?
Basically, the way the meeting said, based on the staff's investigation and then
Okay.
looking what it is. Call the question, and all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Let's go to the 1.95 million for all of the capital. Street, wastewater, street, etc.
Okay, President Pro Tem and council members, we are now discussing the two proposed bond issues. The first one is the $1,950,000 general obligation utility improvement bonds, Series 2008B. And the second one was originally $760,000 general obligation equipment certificates, which items we just went through and covered. Normally, we would, Terry Heaton would be here to discuss these bond issues with you. Terry's from Springstead. She was not able to be with us tonight, so with us this evening is Doug Green, who will go through and address these two bond issues with you.
President Pro Tem, members of the council, my name is Doug Green, Springstead Incorporated, the city's financial advisor. Terry will be here when we sell the bonds it was about a month from now. Just wanted to quickly go through this bond sale. Please interrupt at any time if you have any questions about it. Tom laid out what these are for, and I think you all have a pretty good idea. The bond will be paid back with a combination of ad valorem taxes, special assessments, and cash on hand from various funds. I'll just highlight a few pages within the packet just to give members of the council and members of the audience, if they're interested, just more details about this bond issue and what we expect from the bond sale. On page 9.2 is the start of our, got a fly in my eye here. Start of page 9.2 is the recommendations which we've provided to the city. This is a formal step in the process, and tonight, if the council agrees, you will formally set the sale, which we're setting the date, the time, the terms, and the conditions for the bond sale. On 9.2, on the back of it, the top of the page has recommendations. And just starting with number 1, action required. Again, that's the formal step that we're doing tonight. Setting the sale, the date and time. The method of sale, as of now, it's going to be planning to have a competitive bidding process. Moving over to page 9.3. Number 7. Issues are general obligations of the city secured by the full faith and credit and taxing power of the city of Marshall. Then again, 7B highlights the sources of payments, which I mentioned before. The bonds will be repaid with a combination of ad valorem taxes, special assessments, and net revenues of various city funds. And the equipment certificates will be repaid with ad valorem property taxes. On the back side, I just want to highlight a few of the most important aspects of the recommendation. On the back side of page 9.3, I just want to point out that this issue will be bank qualified, which means in the end, that it increases the investor pool that will be out there that will be wanting to purchase the city's bonds. And it varies over time, just like other interest rates, but what we hope and what we expect is a 30 to 50 basis points rate to be lower because these bonds are bank qualified. At least that's what the market shows today. Hopefully it'll be the same in a month from now. And as far as just wanted to go all the way back to page 97. This page provides a summary of the $1,950,000 general obligation utility and street improvement bonds. You see the columns are the three funding sources: the special assessment portion, the utility portion, and the levy portion. And then the first line under the sources of funds, the par amount of the bonds. So $1,090,000 is from the special assessment portion, $290,000 is from the utility portion, and $570,000 is from ad valorem taxes. Gets us to the $1,950,000. On the back side of that are some of the terms of the bonds that we expect the city to receive. Again, things in this volatile market, they can change over the next few weeks, but this is what we expect. And the table just shows principal, the various coupons we expect over the life of the bonds, interest, total principal and interest. We have to, general obligation bonds, if you're aware, had to, state law, we levy 105% to account for any delinquencies that we might have in collecting either ad valorem taxes or special revenues. It shows the assessment income. Column 7 is utility fund construction revenue, and the balance in column 8. I'll go down, we award the bids based off of a true interest cost. It's not exactly the average interest rate you can expect, but mathematically, since I know President Pro Tem would correct me if I said something wrong mathematically, but you can kind of look at it that way as the average interest rate over the life of the bonds. What we expect to come back to you in a month from now is 4.4%. And those are the general obligations, utility, and improvement bonds. We move to page, do the same thing for the equipment certificates. On the back side of page 910. The action the council just received here, the 700, previously it says 760,000. We just took off, the council just took off 105,000 of that, so it's $655,000. Par amount of the bonds for the 10-year, that should say 15. That's correct, Tom? Should say 15 year. Is us. It is 10 years. Okay, I'm sorry. It is 10 years. 645,000, and then added on the cost of issuance, and it gets up to 700,000, which the council just approved. I will let you know that we will rerun these numbers, and if you see on the very, I'll just point this out, on the front of the recommendations, these are, and this is typical in bond issue, these asterisks mean subject to change. And so everyone in the market knows, going through the process, through this process, and through on the date of the sale, that these, the par amount of bonds might change. They don't change drastically, but they might change. And so these variations that you propose and agree to tonight will change the numbers, all the numbers, a little bit. And we will rerun those numbers in the next day or two and get them to the city. So with that, take any questions about this issuance.
You may want to just go back to page 8-4. That's a summary of all of the public improvements in '08. All of those are items that have already in process or have been completed with the exception of Windstar, which is we're bonding for, but it'll be an '09 project in essence. That comes up to 19. Any questions from the council?
Well, not from the council, I'm just interested though as to what you're seeing in light of the volatility on the stock market. What are you seeing in bonds? Is there more interest in the bonds? And because the bank qualified, are you seeing a good, you anticipating a good rate of return or a good sale for the city here in a month from now?
That's, driving the 3 hours over here, I was listening to MSNBC, and a lot of the same questions were being asked by, two Wall Street executives and stuff. So, I'll give you, it's a great question, and it's simply been, if you're interested in this, just been fascinating to watch the past a few weeks. People that have been in the municipal bond business for 30, 40 years said they've never seen anything like this. So what we have seen over the past few weeks is there was, with the volatility, there was a huge flight to quality into treasury bonds. Again, and those are considered the most safe. Municipal bonds did not reap that reward of being considered safe. Now, I mean, if you look at how many defaults there are, over time, there really should be. However, they're not. I mean, it was just such a, the market was so skittish that everybody just wanted into treasuries. So what you saw, that and there's many other things that contributed to an increase in supply of municipal bonds, which, and there were no buyers. There were no buyers up there. So the last few weeks, we did see interest rates rise, anywhere between 50 and 75 basis points. However, last week things started to stabilize. And just to give you an example of, I think I mentioned the Ways and Means Committee, things have started to calm down. We had 2 bond sales over the last, well, we've had more, but 2 that I'll mention. City of Bloomington, which is AAA rated, and this morning, City of Cologne, which is a lower A rated. I can't remember specifically. City of Bloomington got 4.5% on similar 10-year, I don't know how many million, a couple million, I'd say maybe 9 or 10. A 4.5% in the City of Cologne this morning got in the 4.9 range. Very below actually what we had, a little bit below what we had thought. So simple answer to your question is, it has been erratic. It's been it's been unprecedented in a lot of ways, but we are starting to see things stabilize and hope to continue to have that.
Any other questions from the council? If not, page 9A-1 is the resolution for the issuance and sales of GO utility and improvement bonds, series 2008B. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion for bond issue 2008B for the $1,950,000?
So moved.
Good, we got most of them done. Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the resolution for series 2008B. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. 9B-1 is the resolution for the GO equipment certificates of indebtedness 2008C, and I Wouldn't that amount change on this one, Tom?
Pardon?
Yes, it would.
This one?
747,090, wouldn't that amount change based on the earlier action?
Right.
So
Which is-
Well,
This
this
is 700.
one here was for 760,000, and we're looking at it being reduced to at least, or the most, to 700,000, so it could be reduced more from that, because they were looking at taking into consideration the amount that we had levied in 2007 payable 2008 for equipment, which we're anticipating collecting 50,000, so this one could be reduced down to 675, maybe.
how much?
Probably 675,
Okay.
so it'll be reduced.
But you would want the motion probably up to 700,000 based upon what the final numbers might come back.
Is there a motion?
I got a question. In here, in the very top part, it says that, it says not to exceed 10 years. Is this a 5-year bond that we're looking at?
This one is the 10-year, for the 15-year.
15 years, you got moved out to a 10-year bond?
Right,
I mean, we were before talking about doing it at 5, we're going to do it in 10 now?
yeah, we're doing 10 now. Because the equipment that we have remaining has got life of 15 years, so. Since we're just.
Any other questions? Not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded for the resolution. Equipment certificates 2008C. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We'll take a 5-minute break. Amending 54.3 of the city code, regulating deferred payment of special assessments for senior citizens over the age of 65. Tom?
President Pro Tem, council members, at the last city council meeting, you adopted an ordinance amending section 4.3 of the city code, which relates to the deferral special assessments for senior citizens over the age of 65. The primary change in this ordinance was in B4, which had to do with total net assets. The previous ordinance, which was adopted in 1998, had this set at 100,000, and the ordinance that's being proposed here is to increase it to 150,000 total net assets, including the homestead. So we're asking for your adoption of this ordinance.
Motion?
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to adopt the ordinance regarding special assessments for over the people, the age of 65. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 10A, it's a plumber's license for Ron Seaman doing business as Ron's Plumbing and Heating Service. Tom, that's you again.
Okay, Ron had received the application previously, but was not able to get it turned into us on a timely basis to be submitted with the agenda packets. He did come in today and is scheduled to do some work here in town. And he did previously work for Jennings Plumbing and Heating out of Redwood Falls, but now is on his own. So therefore, he is requesting that he be granted a plumber's license to operate here in the city of Marshall.
Recommendation is to make it contingent upon review and approval of Rob. Yes, is that normal?
Well, normally the applications, once we receive them, are submitted to the police department for them to do their normal check on them. Rob is out of the office and will be back in the morning, so we're hoping to get him to get on this and get the approval taken care of to proceed.
Make a motion to approve it according to staff's recommendations.
Second. Contingent upon approval.
That's staff recommendation.
Motion made, seconded to approve it contingent upon review and approval of city staff. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes.
Could we move item 14 up and then, she's been here.
Well,
for a while.
certainly.
Can we move it up and then go back to do a 12?
Consider the request for a 3-year, not 5-year, 3-year renewal of a conditional use permit for home occupation. I think you have, Dale has the floor, okay?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. As you stated, this is a 3-year renewal for conditional use permit for a massage therapy business in an R11 family residence district at 426 North 5th Street. This is the first renewal from an initial 1-year permit. And there have been no comments placed on file for this business. Ms. Snell is here, should you have any questions of her.
I would move approval of the renewal.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the conditional use permit renewal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, motion passes. Now we'll go back to 11. 11, which is a special request for a special assessment deferral. Tom?
President Pro Tem, council members, the item being considered at this time is for the deferral of a special assessment. And this special assessment is for the property at 623 Southview Drive. We have gone through and reviewed the application submitted by the individual. They exceed the age of 65 and do meet all the requirements of the ordinance as far as income and total net assets. Therefore, we are recommending to the council that this individual be granted a deferral of their special assessment.
For the recommendation from staff, is there a motion?
That deferral will be picked up by anybody that would at some point buy that property.
Okay, the deferral will remain in place at the current interest rate until such time that the current owner of that property sells the property, or if the person were to die, at that time, then the assessment would become due and payable.
That assessment would not carry any interest payments?
It would
We would be accumulating interest from now until that.
Yes, we
The
would.
interest rate would be given to them from that point going forward after we bought water.
No.
So,
No, the interest rate stays in effect as long as it's on the deferral. So once, say if 5 years down the road that one of the items falls into place, either a death or the property is sold, the assessment becomes due at that time with the interest from today until then plus the assessment.
Simple interest or compound?
Simple.
Heard the recommendation.
Move to approve.
second.
Motion made for approval. All those in favor of the special assessment deferral, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. 12, consideration of an ordinance amending speed limits.
We have Kim Jorgensen from the Public Works Department here this evening representing them. And I believe it came from them originally. It was introduced last meeting. We do have, Brian is actually here on a personal note in relation to this issue because he was close to this. So he might want to comment on this particular note. So.
I have to apologize. I'm kind of filling in here tonight. Shane was actually briefed on these things. She's homesick today, so I'm not as prepared as I should be for these. So these next couple, I believe this came out of our office as a raise of the city limits from the south city limit line to somewhere around Denali on South Saratoga Street. It has been both before the L&O committee and I believe recommended for approval.
Yes, it is.
I was not at that meeting, so if you have any other questions, I guess, or Brian.
Brian?
President Pro Tem, council members. I'm not here as a member of the police department. I'm here as a resident of this area. And I just lately learned of this alleged amendment to the speeding ordinance from Bandy Road with me last on the 9th. And he happened to mention as we were patrolling that area. I'd like to look at this from a couple different standpoints. And part of that, I believe, from what I would understand, I think you've got it up here as well. The proposed change is about the block south of Denali to the city limit line. The proposed change would affect about 1,000 feet coming into the city. And basically what they're doing is changing it from 30 just outside of Continental, which is the most southern street, to about, I don't know how long that block is, but about 1,000 feet just south of Denali Drive. And I believe, from what I've read on it, it's because of the improvements of the county road where they feel this would be beneficial for traffic. And although it might be beneficial for traffic, it's not beneficial to pedestrians or residents of the area, such as myself. Living on a corner lot at Genesis Avenue, I've had many opportunities to watch traffic from my house, either outside or from the windows. And I believe moving a higher speed limit closer in is detrimental to the pedestrians that frequent that area. During the daytime, when most city staff would be patrolling or driving out there to check it, there's not a high deal of pedestrian traffic at that time, but in the evenings, in the warmer weather, and on weekends, that area in this particular stretch of road is teeming with pedestrians and bicycle traffic, a lot of bicycle traffic. In fact, from directly out from my house, on many evenings during the summer, there's a group of, semi-pro bicyclists that congregate there and have speed trials up and down this road. And I think they picked it due to its newness, straightness, and the fact that it's not to have people blowing by them at 55 plus. From Genesis down to Winsar Street, there is a sidewalk. But from that point south, there is not a sidewalk along this, and it is still in the city limits. People are forced to walk along the road, and some of that is hashed off, directing traffic more up to the middle, but part of it is also right turn lanes, which would making people jump into the ditch if they so choose to do that. Between Continental and Denali, the traffic patterns are actually diverted off to the right-hand side with hash marks in the middle. Again, no sidewalks forcing people out into the ditch if traffic doesn't divert around. Now, that's I guess the layout of it. I'd like to point out a few other facts. Using industry standard charts and using 1,000 feet as the distance, which was roughly about 1 3/4 of a mile is the affected area. If people actually do the speed limit and speed down to 40 at the beginning of this new proposed speed zone and then down to 30 at the next segment, they'd save approximately 5.7 seconds. So that's what we're talking about. I assume the council would assume that most people driving this would be driving the speed limit. So for just over 5 seconds, that's what this change would do. Same going out. But I can tell you from personal experience, watching from my backyard, that traffic going south that are heading out of town, right above my lot, they heavily accelerate, would be the best way to put it. Not everybody, but there's a good portion of them that do it. Coming in, a lot of them coast in. By the time they reach probably Winstar Street, they might be down to 30 in there. And I'm talking out of town traffic, not people coming out from the subdivision itself. Those people are generally much more law-abiding. This can be explained in a couple ways. I kind of call it muscle memory. for those of you who probably know that Genesis was the most southern street at one time, and the speed limit changed to 55. People got used that lived out on the farm to, when they hit that, to heavily accelerate, and these people still do it. In fact, I can speak to the fact, like at Hardee's, where it used to be 40, there's still, I don't know how many years now, 15, 18 years down the road, there's still a tendency for people to start accelerating at Hardee's even though it's built up. This takes time and additional signage to get people to adhere to these speed limits, and I believe that's what's happening here. Now, going south, once you turn off of Highway 23, there's one 30-mile-per-hour sign, and there's nothing until there's a sign that says end of speed zone way down at the bottom. Now, because this is a new subdivision, I believe that an area like that needs additional signs to train people to slow down. Same with coming in. There's a sign that says 30 and an arrow, and then there's a 30, and then there's nothing the rest of the way. So because of the wide open design of this area, it gives people the impression that they're out of town, and as I spoke earlier, there is a high percentage of pedestrians and bicyclists in this area at certain times of the day. I'd also like to reference last week, if you read the Marshall Independent, there was an Ask the Trooper question in there. There's a misconception out there that people think that when they see the sign, they can speed up prior to it. And, you know, as the article indicated, actually you can't speed up until you pass that sign. I think that's also something that happens when people know the speed limit is going to change. They envision what it is and they start speeding up ahead of time. So I don't think the answer in this area is at all to increase the speed limit for part of it. That's going to increase the speeds that they're going when they hit my area, going north, and they're still going to speed up because they're going to see that 40-mile-per-hour sign sooner. Those that aren't speeding up now will probably tend to start speeding up faster than they have been in the future. So bundling all these things together, I would urge the council to reject amending this ordinance and to keep the speed limits as they are. In fact, I would like the council to ask the county highway department to install additional 30-mile-per-hour signs in that area. I'd recommend 2 more either direction, but 1 would be a great start somewhere in the middle.
I'd just like to make a comment. When we looked at this ordinance in LO and we looked at changing this, one of the things that we considered was the fact that before, when we were looking at reducing speed limits in other places, you cannot, according to state statute, the way I understand it, you cannot reduce the speed limit by more than 15 miles an hour unless you do it in intervals of over at least 1/5 of a mile. So coming in, the county's got 55 miles an hour, the city's got a 30-mile-an-hour sign. It's a 25-mile-an-hour reduction. That is not legal at the current place it's at. And that was one of the considerations that we used to bring it down to 40, which is the 15 miles, then to go 1,020 feet and put a 30-mile-an-hour sign, which reduces it down to 30 miles an hour, according to what I assume and has been brought forward in the past as a state statute, that you can't reduce the speed any more than 15 miles an hour without going through the steps. You can't just throw a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit reduction, boom, right there. So the only option would be to talk the county into going out and put a 40-mile-an-hour speed sign 1,000 feet out from the city limits.
From my vantage point, that'd be preferable.
Yeah, may be preferable, but it may not be, something that we can ever get done. So that was the reason that was brought forward in the manner that was brought forward. It wasn't because we wanted to give people the maximum amount of speed to get into town and do shopping and stuff at local stores. It was because there's a state statute that says that you can't just do a 25-mile-an-hour reduction. I mean, and it's you got to do it through a series. So we did it through a series.
I'm trying to think. I know I've seen places where that occurs. Maybe not in Marshall. But there's unintended consequences to that, and with Windstar Street now going to be a thoroughfare,
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get it down, because 30 would never get there. So I mean, I'm just putting forward what I've been told in the past is a state statute that we couldn't reduce it more than, and Dennis had brought it forward at another meeting over a year ago, that when we were looking at reducing speeds in a different place, that you can't do it, you have to do it by 15-mile increments. You can't do more than 15 miles, about at least 1/5 of a mile warning to go down further.
I've never seen that written down anywhere.
And I'm only doing it off of what I've been told. I haven't dug through all the state statutes and looked it up myself, so.
Okay. I assume that the city is proposing to expand out to the, probably west of there at some point in time. Is that not?
Well, I think the additions are probably going to end up going all the way out to the county road, to the city limits line, so.
Yeah.
At some point, you'd hope it keeps growing that direction, it keeps on going. And as it gets that further out, then we need to negotiate for lower speed limits if we need lower speed limits for streets coming on.
Well, I understand. I just want you to take into consideration the traffic that is out there and the potential for some serious happening.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
explanation.
Brian. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the orders for this call for a hearing.
I think we introduced.
Are we introducing the ordinance?
We already introduced it last meeting, so this
Okay.
is actually your,
Okay.
and it was briefly discussed, so you
Okay.
could take action tonight.
I would consider approving that ordinance.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to amend the speed limit sign on the extension of Saratoga. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 13 is a list of 3-7 resolutions amending the assessment rolls.
These are, this is the cul-de-sac project, Loose Lane, all the cul-de-sacs to Shepherd Street. The reason this is before you is during the course of construction, some of the homeowners, when we were in design, we didn't realize that some of them didn't need the sump pump connections. They had separate pipes and the arrows all went a different direction. So basically what this does is eliminate the sump pump connections from, various homes on each project. Some, on a couple of them, they were all put in. Some there was only one. So it eliminates them. And I believe Glenn went through and recalculated the assessment. Some dropped, you have the roll before you. Some dropped a little bit, some dropped a little more, some didn't change at all. So I'm not exactly sure how he went through and redid the calculations, but that's what you have before you tonight.
So either there's, what all I've looked at so far, there's either no change or there's a reduction. Is that correct? There's either no change or a reduction.
There would be no raising of the
There's no increases.
Yeah, he did recalculate, there were some increases, but they couldn't, they stayed with the city costs.
Okay.
So can we,
Move all together?
well, without the city attorney here, I think we can. I don't know. I would assume we could adopt the resolution, as it says, a resolution amending the assessment rule.
If it helps at all, these are all under one contract, so.
I would move adoption of the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded to adopt the resolution, amending the assessment rule. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, motion passes. Item number 15, introduction of a plat call for a public hearing on a preliminary plat of Legion Field Road, second edition. Tim?
This is a proposed plan out near South 11th Street, or yes, 10th Street, I'm sorry, and Legion Field by George Jacob, Chuck Hess. The city is involved with some of their property for the parkway additions. And so it'd be an introduction and call for a public hearing.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I would call for the introduction and call for a public hearing.
Second.
When's the public hearing going to be? Is it scheduled?
Looks like we should probably set it, we usually set a time, I assume.
Yes.
It would be for the November 3rd meeting.
Okay, call for a public hearing on November 3rd.
Motion made. Introduction of plat, call for a public hearing on November 3rd. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Consideration of a change order number 1, project Y06, News Lane.
This is a change order for Moose Lane. Again, during construction, we encountered a couple of drainage problems. We decided that needed to be fixed and corrected. We also straightened out a little bit of sidewalk and did some fixing on there. We did not have bid items for these items, and so they're being proposed at this time. And also at this, they're extending the contract by 1 week to allow concrete to cure and that sort of thing. So
Just a point of interest, has that been done?
it is.
Is this project complete?
It is complete, except
The
for a couple of
17th.
minor items.
The 17th is?
Last Friday.
Okay.
It was, there's one minor thing that was done today. There's a little backfilling, but other than that, it's substantially complete.
I would make a motion to consider approval, change order number 1 on News Lane.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve change order number 1 on News Lane Improvement Project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. This meeting is really going downhill. We better get it over
Well, I
with.
just wondered if we tore it out, would we get charged more for tearing it back out now?
Agenda item 17, change order number 1 for 3 projects, Y35, 36, 37. Kim, I would guess that's you again.
These are essentially the same thing on all 3 projects. It's for an adjustment of some catch basins. When this was originally designed, we were going to the curb had settled on either side of these catch basins. And during construction, it became obvious that we couldn't get it to match correctly. So we had to do a little adjustment on the catch basins, and it just became a necessity to tear these out and redo them. There was not a bid item for this. We were hoping to do it a different way. It just couldn't be done. So, without costing a lot more money. So,
And they're all done.
they're all done.
Is there a motion?
I would move approval for change orders for Y35, 36, and 37.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve change order number 1 for Y35, 36, 37.
Got a question? I got some discussion. I just want to, we've already adopted the assessment for these,
Correct.
and
This is, according to the memo, it's within the 5%.
so we're just going to beat these costs as
Yes.
a city.
Yes, sir. It's part of that 5%. So
Contingency fee.
Correct.
Okay.
Both change orders,
And we're going to have enough in the 5% to cover it.
yes.
Okay.
But once an assessment goal is
Set. You will have-
set, we can't raise it.
Okay. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Agenda item 18, Councilman, individual items. I'll start on them met. Oh, the Merit Center met last Thursday night, talking about future plans, basically. Ways and means we just did. That's it. Mr. Dooley.
I was unable to attend either of the 2 that met, so that's probably, I'm going to have to pass. Thank you.
Denny?
The library board had a meeting last Monday, which I attended part of before I came to the special council meeting. And at that time, there was a presentation for self-scanning, automation for checking out books, for hopefully someday in the future installing. And then there was also the director of the Chanhassen Library that was recently built, and the experience she shared with the board. The actual board meeting that took place took place actually after those presentations, which I missed, so that's all that I saw.
Riley?
Cable met, I went to the cable meeting, they're just going to bring forward some recommendations that they might help change their job descriptions a bit. They're going to bring them forward and to look at, and maybe bring forward to the Charter Commission to look at to see if they want to change the charter to do that. So at some point they'll be contacting Ben with that. Other than that, I didn't make it to the transit meeting, and I still haven't got my emails. We've been emailing back and forth the last couple of days, and I think we maybe got it worked out, so I'll get my emails so I know where they're meeting and when and how. So,
Okay,
other than that, that's
staff report, Ben?
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the council. Just a few updates for you. As you know, we do have a budget meeting set for next Wednesday on the 29th. As a matter of timing, a couple things that I would recommend is, if possible, would you be able to meet at 5 instead of 5:30? You know, expecting a long meeting. We'll go ahead and plan that unless you have any objections tonight. It is a special meeting. The hospital originally had requested to come in with their negotiating team that evening to present some information. However, with our, we've got quite a bit ready to present that evening on the budget, so they are now going to come on the November 3rd. They also had talked about coming tonight, and the information they had ready was not available, so they will come next meeting will be on the 3rd of November. They will not come next week. So.
And they are apparently trying to get an answer to that question on the use of proceeds. I mean, they're still working with the attorney or whatever to get us an
That's
answer.
that's one of the issues that they're clarifying. Yeah.
This could be a closed meeting?
I would anticipate so. I can check to see if any of those items can be discussed publicly, like the use of funds. I see no reason why that can't be a public update on what we could use the proceeds for. I will verify that though, whether they were proposing any closed meetings or not. Let's see here, and spending a lot of time internally, Sheila Dubs, the assistant to the city administrator, myself, and spending time on the personnel policy again, still working on that. I think we have a personnel committee meeting now scheduled coming up, but quite a few amendments there, so we are making progress on that. We have a verbal approval of the sergeant's contract for 2008, and so we'll be proposing to come up with contracts on November 3rd for the council's approval. And also we are currently scheduling meetings or have already met with several unions regarding the 2009 contracts. One item tonight that I did not specifically put on the agenda, but I would like to move forward with due to timing, and I want to give you a little update on that. I don't know that we necessarily need your formal approval unless you have concerns with it. You might be aware that Marshall Municipal Utility, which I think we mentioned in the partnership agreement, have previously provided the city and a number of other entities services for alarm system checks, where they would monitor alarms. We have several facilities that have those for different reasons, whether they're security or fire purposes. I don't really want to get into a specific discussion tonight in regards to some of the security items, because we can't go into closed session on those items if they are of security and document them too. But just as an example, the swimming pool, the liquor store, street department, garage, merit center, transit building, and some others, we have certain types of security alarms for, and they have provided monitoring of that. They are no longer going to be in that business for liability and kind of for mission purposes. There's private companies that provide this service now, so they gave us a list of companies that provide this. I think we might have given you some information in the past. Well, we've been kind of trying to figure out, okay, what do we do with this? And I think it's a little bit more complicated than just going with the service that was exactly provided by them, because there might be technologies that we can get it done cheaper. For example, not having to use dedicated phone lines where there's other services, other technologies out there. So I think that there's a couple different ways you can go as far as the bidding on this goes. One is you can either hire somebody to basically prepare apples to apples specifications, or we can go with more of a professional services agreement where we contract with the company basically to identify our priorities and work with us on ordering and purchasing those. We would still get potentially prices on different equipment they would be looking at, or we'd be able to take a look. But what we're recommending is to go with the latter proposal, where we basically prepare kind of similar to engineering services or that type of a thing, where we we ask for proposals, we would advertise it in the paper, asking for a list of qualifications, experience-based, price-based, to go forward with developing what our potential needs are. Where it gets a little bit shaky too is security and the changes there. You know, trying to evaluate, do we need just an alarm on a door, do we need alarm and cameras, or what? So that's what we're looking at. There are local contractors that have expressed an interest we've met with, and so those would obviously be the priority, but there are potentially other ones too outside of the commercial area that could provide the services as well. So we would, and they are ending the service at the end of January, and so trying to move this along, so I'd like to prepare the request for qualifications, get it out, maybe send out an update for you for information, but we wouldn't be committed to hiring them anyway. But to get the process rolling, I'd like to move forward with that. So unless there's any objections, I'd like to move ahead, prepare it, send it out just for your information, and to go forward with the advertisement on that. But I don't want it to be a surprise for you that that's what we're doing. So the legislative and ordinance meeting today, or not today, I'm sorry, coming up this week. I just received the amendments from Dennis today, and I kind of made a quick review, made some adjustments, and we did get it in the mail, the draft ordinance in the mail to the liquor establishments today, because we promised them again to give them a heads up on it. I was not able to finish my memo because I needed to see the ordinance to prepare the memo on it, because there's a couple talking points I wanted to prepare for the meeting. But I propose to finish that tomorrow along with the final minute review. So we'll be going out to the committee members. We'll probably do an email and a hard copy to you tomorrow is what we'll do on that legislative ordinance meeting. And that's the primary topic item on the agenda is the under 21 ordinance amendments that we've been reviewing here for a few meetings. I just want to give you a heads up on that. We do have a Chamber of Commerce forum scheduled for next week. I shouldn't say we, the city doesn't have any part of it, but they are hosting a local forum, which I think we mentioned last council meeting. And from what I read in their correspondence, it appears that from 7:30 to 8:30 or 8:50 will be the city focus. And what they're allowing is those cases that are contested, I think, are the focus. Those who are uncontested are allowed to either come and read a statement or send one to be prepared, a prepared statement to be read if they choose to do that. So I'll give you a heads up on that forum.
And that's where the prepared statement is from 7 to 7:30, I believe, or 7:35, something like that. And it includes the school board and contested school board candidates.
Thank you for that clarification. With that, I guess I'd open it up to any questions that you might have for me if you have any on my updates. Oh, and since Shane isn't here, do you have a demolition update?
I'll try.
Okay.
It'll be real short and sweet. I know that most of you have been by the site and have noticed that the gym is probably gone. Drive around back and the gym is no longer there. The hazmat crew is now inside the building, removing the asbestos from the piping and the ceilings and wherever it is. And it's anticipated that they're going to be in there about 3 weeks. So it's going to look like nothing's happening, but they're pretty busy inside that building. I'm not going in there, but I'll take their word for it. The sanitary sewer, you've also noticed that the 3rd or 4th and Redwood is under construction. That sanitary sewer that goes under the building now is abandoned. So as of today, they've rerouted the sewer line. It's going from 3rd. It was going from 3rd to 4th. Now it's going from 4th back to 3rd. And they finished that today, except for doing some final service work. So I would anticipate in a couple weeks that Redwood will be back together. 4th is back together almost. And the building itself will continue to come down in about 2 to 3 weeks. It should really see a difference. And I believe that the contractor is going to crush a lot of the building materials, the brick building materials and stuff, put them right back in the basement hall, so they don't have to haul a lot of fill in and stuff like that. Kind of like we did with the Block 11 over here. So it's going to be the same sort of deal, I think.
Are you anticipating that Redwood Street will get at least one lift and tire this fall?
Yes.
It's going to be at least one lift on
At least the wear will not be on.
it. But the first lift?
The rest will be.
Okay.
Yeah. also probably will not be sodded. It gets getting a little late for that, you know, another week or so, but they'll have to do some temporary seeding. So they're moving right along. The water main's in on 4th, and now they're gonna bring it down Redwood and then test it and hook them up. So.
Thank you, Tim. Councilman, individual item.
One other just follow-up too, and this is going to be more discussion later too, but I have had several people in the media maybe asking a little bit about what's the council's intended reuse of that property, which my response has basically been that there hasn't been a formal discussion. We've kind of been all over the place as the options go. But as a heads up too, my intention is that we kind of gearing up for a strategic planning discussion at the end of the year, kind of getting the process probably figured out in December, and then moving into that in probably January or so, just because we have so much other with the budgetary and other items that we're wrapping up here, the personnel policy. I think that's the focus for now, and then we can get into those discussions at another time unless you have other plans to wanting to get into those discussions earlier. I think that's my kind of tentative schedule of taking a look at some of these strategic discussions.
Jenny. Mr. Drew.
I have none. I just got one question, Ben, you said you were going to send a hard copy, you're going to send a hard copy to all of us
Hard copy of?
of that ordinance? Or is that just to me to make sure?
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant for the committee members, the full council, I don't.
Full committee members, I mean, the committee members are going to get a hard copy?
Correct.
In the mail?
We will email and put one in the mail.
Okay.
If, you know, Thursday's not that far away, if the mail's an issue, we can have it hand delivered to you too, if you prefer that, to get it to you quicker.
I don't prefer that because every time you hand deliver something at the police department, my neighbor has a problem with it.
He knows you, Charlie. He
No,
knows you.
he says I'm wasting city resources for protecting the city, delivering stuff to me. It's like, yeah. So if you can send it in the mail, it's fine.
I have nothing. Review of pending agenda items. Anything? Any comments?
Move to adjourn.
Guess we're ready to adjourn.
I guess I'll second it.
Okay. Anyone gonna vote against? No.